State
let's
of
move on
play.
to Sargon. So last night, after my stream, which was essentially like just 2 hours of me waiting for you to show up, but I filled the time by giving my thoughts on the people on the chessboard. Kraut, Sargon, V, Quartering, Dankula, Warski, Tonka, all of the people, and I gave a few predictions on where this whole ecosystem is going to go, and I hope we go into that, and I hope we pick up on what you've mentioned about the algorithm loving you, because I want to sort of draw parallels with that with other figures whom the algorithm has loved and sort of dropped. But yeah, last night after that stream, I went back actually and I watched that video that Sargon made about you, the 38 minutes one,
Yeah, where
the
he
third
like
spot confidence.
doxed me and says all kinds of nasty things about me. Yeah, what about it?
Yeah. And he goes through this narrative of events where he paints you as like a fraud, a charlatan, a complete scoundrel. I think he even uses the word scoundrel or something like that.
Yeah.
You're basically a no person in
Mhm.
Sargon's eyes. And throughout the video, he's saying that the reason why he does YouTube, right? The reason why he's a big-brained liberalist white nibber is because he wants his child to grow up and hate the SJWs. So uh, it makes me wonder. His whole body of work, the meltdowns, the interactions with Jim, all of the memes about the angel baby and V. He thinks that's like a worthy canon that's going to impress future generations of the Benjamin family tree. But there's a reason why I'm saying this. Basically, he's making this implication that he's a better father than you are in that video, and that his kids are going to be proud of him,
Uh-huh.
and you all won't. And that's how he ends that 38-minute video. And I just want to ask, Coach, on a human level, how does that make you feel as like as a person who was sort of friendly with Sargon before that video?
No, I ceased being friendly with Sargon when I realized that he knew all about Kraut's bullshit, and I've come to the conclusion that he put him up to it, and I have no doubt that he actually put him up to the BPS hit piece that just came out, but we'll get to that in a second. No, I can't take that man seriously. Okay, and him thinking that he's a better father than I am, oh, it's just absurd because first of all, it's not a fucking competition, right? And secondly, how can I put? Well, at least my kids are mine. If we're gonna be going in that general direction, yeah. Um, mm,
Just to say, I mean, that was the video where I started to have. I mean, watching that back when he made it, that's
yeah.
the video where I started to have doubts on who Sargon was as a credible. I used to be a fan of Sargon. I don't
So was
have any.
I. So was I. Yeah. I
I
thought he was
watched
great.
him. I
Mm.
watched him from when I was like a 17, 18-year-old. Watched him making videos about Nietzsche Sarkeesian on Gamergate. I grew up with that. Sargon was a great sort of entertainment to watch every time I came in from whatever day I had, and it was just great to see someone pointing out flaws in the feminist system and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that video especially, that was the start of me realizing just how much of a vile, disingenuous, and disgusting individual Sargon actually was. But a lot of us, pre-Spencer, pre-liberalistism, a lot of us were still drinking the Kool-Aid. A lot of us are brought into the skeptic lies that you were a confidence man, that a person who nobody should have dealings with.
Hmm.
And I suspect that it brings you a lot of gratification, Coach, to know that you are now, we're all at the tail end of 2018, and you've been proven right.
Well, yeah.
Everybody has seen Sargon's true colors.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't begrudge anybody anything. I'm not someone to hold grudges with like how could I put it, with the spectators, because the spectators had a certain view of myself and Sargon in December of 17, right?
That's right.
And December of 18 is rolling around, and the views of both people, the spectators' view of both has changed. You see, I recognize that a person's view can change and adapt and transform. Okay, what matters is who you are at heart, right? I'm not making a good argument. Let me rephrase it. See, I knew who this guy was when I realized that he knew about Kraut. And then when I guessed correctly, as it turned out, that he was behind Kraut and had been pushing him in the direction of the doxing and smearing server and all that shit and the target list and all that crap. Okay, I realized he was that guy. Okay, and I realized too. Look. it's gratifying, but it's not like I'm jumping for joy or anything. It's like, oh, that's nice, you know. My thinking is really I'm enjoying the spectacle of his self-destruction. And see, I
Yeah.
promised Sargon that I would be the one who delivers the coup de grace, and I will, okay? Because I have a weapon over him that really will decimate him, okay? And you know, I'll bide my time because I'm a patient guy, and you know, when the time is right, everybody will know, okay? That's
Is
all
this
I have to
coach's
say.
20-year plan?
No, it's not a 20-year plan. But no, I'm a patient guy. You know, like see, you got to be patient, and you got to know. Look, my mistake with the in late last year was jumping the gun because I recognized who this guy was. I'd had sort of like inklings, and when I met him in person, he was very charming. And charming in person, he's
Can we
very
just go
charming.
into that?
Yeah.
He says in this video that he meets you in a camera shop completely by chance.
Yes.
I've got a question.
Shoot.
Look, we all know there's a lot of cameras in your setup. You're only using one at the moment, and it's mounted upon Tonka's wheelchair.
Yes,
But
he is.
you use a lot of cameras.
Tonka, wait. Tonka, are you all right? He's all right. So what? Shoot, I'm sorry. I just had to.
Yeah, you've got a lot of cameras in your setup,
Sure.
coach. Basically,
Yeah.
and it's all in aid of maximizing the potency of a coach post, of a coach entry. So I'm guessing that you've frequented this very specific camera shop quite a bit.
Lots of
So did it
times.
trigger any paranoia in you to see this like 5 foot king of the skeptics in there?
No,
He said
I just thought it was just chance, happenstance, and he was there to pick up a camera.
Well, he said in this video that you seemed very passive, and I took that to mean that you were shocked, you were like a deer in the headlights, baffled.
No,
So I guess my question is,
Yeah.
do you think that encounter was planned on Sargon's end? Do you think
No,
that
no.
his little network of capos tipped him off as to your favorite haunt, being
No.
this camera shop so we can confront you in person?
Oh, come on, that would be absurd. And the odds are astronomical. And by the way, the camera shop was pretty far from where I lived. And I'd shown where I lived because I lived out in Notting Hill. And when the Notting Hill Carnival passed right outside my window, I'd shown shots of it. And
If you were still in London, we'd almost be neighbours.
oh, okay. Well, we probably were neighbors back when I was living in London.
No,
Oh,
we
okay,
weren't.
it's a recent thing. Okay. So anyway, I was living let me rephrase it. My studio was there, and what happened was it was a spur of the moment thing. I just decided that I'd purchased a camera bag that really wasn't the right bag for me, and I decided to just go back to the shop and exchange it. I mean, I'd been there like 2 days before. I go there to exchange it because I realized it just wasn't appropriate for my needs. And,
Was he already in the shop?
Yeah, he was. He was coming. I can tell you specifically. Anybody who knows the Park Camera Store, who would? See, there's the section.
I may go there on a pilgrimage, coach.
Okay, well, he was coming from the back cash register. There's one at the back of the shop, and there's one at the very front of the shop. When you enter the shop, slightly to the right, there's like a small front-facing cashier.
Right.
And see, there's like an aisle between that cashier, as you're facing it to the right of that cashier, down to the back end of the store. Okay.
So what you're saying is you didn't notice him upon entry.
No. And I walk in, and I'm going to the back cash register because the manager of the store is a guy called Paul, great guy, and he knew me, and I knew that he'd be able to straighten out the situation real quick, and what you call it, as I'm walking towards there, he's walking towards me on my left-hand side.
How do you make eye contact? Do you look down or?
Well, yeah, I'm 6 feet, and he was shorter than me. I don't recall how tall he was.
He's really short. I mean, he is really short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very impressed by my girlfriend. He kept ogling her. Okay, and he kept trying to get information about how we met and stuff.
So
like
just
that.
a second. Who recognized who?
Well, it was sort of like mutual.
What? So he goes, oh, it's Coach Kilo Pill.
No, it's not Kino Phil, but he's like, I know you, and I'm like, I know you, and you know how it is that you run into somebody that you've never actually met in the flesh, but
God,
you've
it's like
seen
two
them.
fucking Jedi meeting, isn't it? Sort of sensing each other's thoughts.
Well, I've had a number of odd encounters like that, so I wasn't really surprised. One time, I ran into Francis Ford Coppola at a sushi place in Paris,
Well, he's completely checked out of making movies now, hasn't he? He's just
Yeah,
focusing on his wine.
yeah, he's making his hotels in Italy, and that seems a shame. But his latest movies weren't very good. I think he just lost his mojo, and I think he lost his desire to make movies. Quite
Well, look, with
frankly.
Apocalypse Now in the Godfather films, I mean, he's
Right.
happy to retire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I got to chatting with him for 90 minutes. I had a great conversation with the dude. He's a lovely man. We had a great time. We just ate sushi and just shot the shit about movies. We talked about financial movies. And it was,
Oh yeah, like Wall Street.
yeah, yeah, we were talking about the Margin Call and a few others that he was very impressed with. And yeah, it was just a great conversation. Just lovely man. Lovely, lovely man. Lovely man.
So from there, from sort of hobnobbing with the greatest film director of all time, you bump into Sargon, the
Right.
king of the.
And also in college, I bumped into J.D. Salinger.
Oh, marvelous!
Yeah, because I went to Dartmouth, and J.D.
Oh yeah, he
Salinger.
was Dartmouth also. Yeah,
Yeah, no, he didn't go to Dartmouth, but he lived nearby. He lived in Norwich, in Vermont,
right.
which is literally across a bridge to Dartmouth, and he was at the A&P shopping, food shopping, and I bumped my cart into his. And he sort of like scowled at me, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's J.D. Salinger!" And I was with a
I
buddy of
say,
mine. Yeah, and he was
Coach, they should call you Coach Random Encounter Pill.
like, "Yeah, Coach, random encounter." Yeah, yeah.
What interests me about this meeting with you and Sargon is you go and have a meal, don't you? You go and have a
Yeah,
sit-down meal.
yeah. Well, actually, that's gilded a little because he just had tea. I and my girlfriend had lunch. He just
Yeah.
had tea. I invited him to lunch. It would have been no trouble at all. But anyway, he just had tea, and we had a great conversation. He's like I said, he's a charming guy. He obviously wanted to talk to me, okay, because I mean, he was buying this camera gear, right? And I made the invite, and oh, and by the way, he also talked. I just realized this. He also talked about Kevin Logan.
Well, Kevin Logan's been on him for a long, long time.
No,
You know.
he was envious because Kevin Logan had made one of his. He has a series, a Manosphere
Yeah,
series.
Descent of the Manosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Kevin Logan had done a piece on me, which I looked at. When I watched it, I was like, "Holy shit! Did this require a lot of work? A lot of work." And watching a lot of my videos, I was impressed, to tell you the truth. That Kevin Logan had thought I was meritorious enough to have gone through all that work,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, Coach is a sort of not Coach. Kev is a sort of neat left version of what I am. You know.
No, Kevin, poor Kevin. He's like, I look at him and he's like this beat up puppy living in a downtrodden room somewhere. I guess his mother's room or whatever.
I think
I
he splits between his divorced parents. I think that's
Oh
the story
God,
there.
it's just so kind of sad. He just seems like a grown man. And the worst part was that, see, I had to do some things in Birmingham, so I had to go up there. And actually, I didn't have to do them in Birmingham, but I wanted to. I wanted to go up to Birmingham, and so I was like, "Come on, Kevin, let's meet in public. It'll be great. We'll stream it." And he was like freaking out. It was really goddamn funny.
Does he see you? Does he see you as like incredibly far right and that sort of thing? I assume
Oh
he
yeah,
doesn't.
but the thing
Is
is,
he
see,
really?
I yelled at him, see, and he knows it. We had a live stream, a very impromptu live stream like this one, because for those of you watching, like half an hour before this started, we had no idea we'd be doing this. Okay, so this was a spur of the moment, and I had a random encounter with Kevin, and because we were like swapping tweets, I think, or something like that. And anyway, one thing led to the next, and like, okay, let's do a stream, right? And I turn it on, man, and he's like, I swear to God, he looked like all scruffy, like in like a corner, like a little ball, like he looked like an abused puppy, right? And I totally owned his ass when I pointed out that all these mass migrants were going to depress wages of the working man. So how could he, as a good leftist, be in favor of mass immigration? And he was like, does not compute. And
Well, I
after
mean,
that, it was downhill.
I'll just say my sort of 2 cents on Kev. I think he's just gone through a little redemption arc where his sort of shitting on Sargon, which he exists for, has been brought to the fore. There's all of those streams he's been on with Christie, and they've had him as a guest. That's really shown Kev to be a master at just shitting on Sargon. And if someone exists purely for that, regardless of their ideology, I can stand with them. I can say I respect them, maybe somewhat. I like his videos. They're a good watch, even if you disagree with everything he's
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good narrative he's woven together. As I say, he's the neat left version of what I am.
Mm-hmm.
But so what's Sargon saying about Kev Logan?
Oh, he was envious of the fact that Kevin had not made one of those videos about him, you know. And he's got some issues with Kevin Logan. I think that he he sees him as somehow better than him. Somehow, it's just bizarre. I don't quite understand it myself, but there's something there. I mean, I can't believe that there's anything kind of like sexual or anything. It must be something British. I don't understand. You
I
would
think
probably
they're,
have
I think
more
they're the
insight
same
than I
age
would.
or something, aren't they? I mean,
I beg your pardon?
I think they're the same age or something, aren't they? So maybe there's like a peer respect thing going on where
I don't know. I don't know. But it's clearly he sees him as Sargon sees Kevin Logan as somebody to aspire to. But look, the
yeah,
fact of the
yeah.
matter is, the fact of the matter is, as of late, I've realized that Sargon is just a stupid man. I mean, he's just a low IQ guy.
Well, that's it. That's the realization we've all come to. I
Yeah,
mean, not as smart as he thinks he is.
yeah,
Back
yeah,
then it was a meme.
yeah.
It was a meme with a slight bit of truth based on a live stream he had with Richard Spencer. But now, I mean, is there any IQ to the man? Do we even know if he's sentient?
Good question. No, I think that look, I think that he's having like some sort of prolonged nervous breakdown. I think it's
Did he
kind of
have? Did
funny.
he show any signs of that when he was meeting you in the flesh?
He kept ogling my girlfriend. That was
What?
kind of
Well,
creepy.
by that, do you mean was he putting his hand on her
No, no,
arse
no.
or
They
something?
were across from one another. He and I were directly across from each other, and my girlfriend was to my right. And she was just like reading some photography magazine and just like
Oh, so she had no interest in the influencer. The
no, no, no. She thought it was kind of like gay, but she didn't like him. You know, that's always a sign. You always ask your woman after a meeting with somebody if she likes him or not. And not like him in a sexual way, but just likes him as a person, right? And she just didn't like the fact that he kept ogling her, you know. And she said
You
that
see,
whenever I looked away, you know, or did anything, he kept like looking in her direction. And he found it creepy. She found it creepy, rather.
God, you should
Well,
have just told him. You should have told him she wasn't transgender, and then he'd have moved on.
no, I don't know. I don't know.
See,
And
I've met Sargon also. This is an
yeah,
experience.
I know. I saw it. I saw it. It was funny as hell. Yeah.
And he carries around like I was with people, and he just walks past me, and someone says, "Oh, Sargon of Akkad's just walked past you," and I'm baffled. I can't believe what's just happened.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think that I've got to find him. I've got to catch this shiny Pokemon. So I go and look for him, and people are telling me that, oh yeah, he definitely has this air of grandeur about him. He
Uh
has a tilt to his head. He has a presence about him. He has a stature.
huh.
So he
Stature.
does carry an air of charisma, and certainly at that liberalist meetup, he was definitely a magnet to all of the Chatelet stranglers and trannies that wanted a bit of the Sargon D. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was him in his echo chamber. So that was why I was very interested in finding him.
No,
You know,
no, no.
out
You're
of that,
you're you're
he's
you're
also
missing
like,
out. It's natural when somebody is successful. Okay. And when they're successful, you know, it shines on them. You know, people, strangers can catch on to it. They feel that shine when somebody's indisputably successful. When they're in the saddle, okay, they're
oh,
riding
I'm
that
not saying that
pony. Yeah.
I was sort of in awe of Sargon.
No, no, no,
I,
no, no. I'm saying
I'm
that
saying that
I'm saying that the guy is
Sargon
is is charismatic and like yeah, because at that time when you went to that meetup, he was indisputably successful. He had the peer respect of everybody in the community. So
no, I mean
yeah.
no. I'll just clarify here. He was still a figure of ridicule. It was sort of like meeting the king of the rats. You know, the king of the dwarfs.
Wait. When was this meeting? This was in mid 2017,
This was
right?
just after Spencer.
Oh, it was just after Spencer. Oh, okay. Well, then he's in the afterglow of that. You see. Well, look. I mean, it's perfectly natural that somebody who's very successful, you know, and indisputably successful, will acquire a certain quote unquote air to them. You know, you see it in all kinds of people, and sometimes that just goes to their head, and they start acting like assholes. And other times, you know, they're gracious enough to realize that it could have been some other schmuck and not them, and they just got lucky. And
Which
so,
Sargon has no awareness of. I mean, he
yeah.
doesn't even consider that a possibility.
Well,
He sees himself like the reincarnation of the actual Sargon of the cat, there to wait for on
I
coloured
don't
haired
know about that.
feminists.
Let's hope not. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, it's an object lesson. See, like, and it happened to me because like when I started making it big as a writer, I was an arrogant asshole. I thought that I was like all that and more, and I didn't realize that I'd gotten incredibly lucky. You know, it was only later, with a few failures under my belt, that I started to realize, oh, the whatever success I get, often as not, is going to be because of luck. And yeah, you have to work really hard to maximize that luck, but at the end, it's still going to be luck. The work just, improves your odds, but it doesn't guarantee success. And we know that because there are lots of YouTubers who are just really good and work really hard and do great content, and they never amount to much. They never
But
break the
coach,
10,000 subscriber mark.
I've got a little question for you. It might
Sure.
take a long time to ask, but
Okay.
you're, let's say, in this little pub in London and say, oh, all of the coachists can come and meet me,
Right.
and it's all on your dime, and you're buying everyone beers, and it's great. Would you interact with that room? Would you make sure that everyone there had a conversation with you, shook your hand, or even just had a
Absolutely.
little interaction with you to take?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The fact of the matter is,
Absolutely.
in
Wouldn't
fact,
you?
yeah.
Just as I would, just as any human would. Sargon at that meeting, at the Liberalist meetup, at the Great Liberalist Beer Hall Push, he stayed in one stationary place the entire night, didn't even circulate the room. The arrogance of the man, he expected people to just come up to him like a
And
king,
kiss the ring.
kiss the ring, and yeah, and do that little curtsy and walk away. The arrogance of that. And I spoke to people there, and I said, how many times have you been to these sort of meetings? And there was one fellow there who'd been to every single public appearance that Sargon had made. And I said, well, have you even shaken his hand? Have you even interacted with him? Have you had a conversation with Sargon? They're like, no, as though they're talking in, the hushed tones that you refer to a king as.
Sad.
I was like,
It's
he's
fucking
just an
sad.
ordinary fellow. He,
It's fucking
what
sad.
is different about him than you? He's just someone who's maybe smartened up a bit by making some neat bucks. He is no different to you, but they think he's a great big-brained intellectual, which is
Well, he
shocking. The last
sounds
people
like
in the
he
Titanic.
looks the part. He looks it, and he's just as disenfranchised as most of his audience. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's just a. He's like, I mean, we can all agree that he's had success and he's
Mhm.
making dollar, 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 but it's finite. It's not going to last forever.
No.
If I were him, I'd really be trying to get away from all of this YouTube stuff, get away from the whole persona, and just bank all the money or put it in investments and just leave it all behind.
Yeah.
It's only causing him and his family distress, as we've seen in recent months with the whole angel baby stuff. I wouldn't want that to happen to my wife,
No.
to someone I love.
No.
I wouldn't want memes like that being spread around constantly. Yet there's no stopping the man. He says he doesn't care. The complete selfish angle of not considering his family's feelings, which I think is disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I was kind of disappointed with people bringing up that whole meme, but then that disappointment faded when he sort of like started taking advantage of the meme
Yeah,
oddly.
you can't compel compassion, coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. And so, well, look, I think that the guy, I think he's scummy, and I think that yeah. Look, you got to understand something else too. See, okay, let's not mince words, right? I don't really know your background or anything like that, but the way you sound and carry yourself, I'm betting that you've had a few successes in your life. Okay, not like you've like invented penicillin, but you've like done well in different aspects or whatever you've set your mind to. Okay, and see, in my own case, I've been very fortunate. I've had a great deal of success in a number of different venues, and it's just been hard work and luck, right? But see, this was the moment for Sargon. He's always been a failure, you know. I mean, come on, you've read his CV, right? We all have, right? That was fucking funny, right?
I went through a lot of. I spoke to a lot of first-hand sources trying to verify that CV. Just because I was baffled by
You think it's the real deal?
studies, a complete DOS subject, which everyone passes just by default. Yeah, look, a scattered guy. I'm sure we can all agree with that. Who's definitely latched on to this success and ran away with it. Fair play. But yeah, as you say, he's a scattered fellow. Oh, you've changed filters.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got bored with the other one. But like, no, and I suppose it's like more appropriate to this part of the conversation. Let me just fix my camera here just a second. See, my point is that, see, he's been a failure most of his life. He's gone from one failing to the next, you know, and things have just not worked out for the guy, right? And all of a sudden, he hits on this thing. He just bangs this SJW drum hard enough, and he gets like all these subscribers, all these views, all this money, right? And it's the first success of his life. He's in his mid 30s, and you know, he'd be basically screaming into a microphone with his outrage over this shit, and he gets a lot of views and a lot of money, and it's success. And for a guy who's lived his entire life up to his mid 30s with zero success, just being not even a cog in the machine, but sort of like a broken cog in one of the
Which is
less
shocking, right?
important.
Not even have anything to your name at that point in life.
Yeah.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And so it must have been like, you know, it goes to your head. See? First success always blows you away. The Bee Gees talked about this. And you can laugh all you want at the Bee Gees music. I personally love
I
the
love
Bee Gees
it.
music. Yeah.
It's absolute kino. I play it just after I've watched a coach video. It's great.
Oh, great. Great to know. But I'll tell you, like, they talked about it. I once saw an interview with Barry Gibb and Maurice Gibb and Robin Gibb, and they were saying they had been successful in, like, the late 60s. And
Yeah, I think I've seen this interview. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they went
and-
through a trough, didn't they? And then
yeah,
they
went.
picked it back
It went
up.
to their head.
Yeah.
And they called it first success. It goes to your head, and you do stupid shit. And then later, when you have like more success, then you know how to handle it. Okay, but of course, you got to go through the failure first before you realize how to handle like the second success. You know what I'm saying? So he's never had failure. And look, the guy's pushing 40, right? So and he doesn't have any education. He doesn't have any springboard to the next big thing in his life, right? This
Yeah,
is
he's
the
got nothing to fall back on when this whole bubble bursts.
Yeah. So that's going to be fucking ugly. Okay. Now I've made it like a personal promise to myself that I'm going to be the one who sticks in the knife, the coup de grace.
Yeah, you've got this 20-year plan, haven't you?
Yeah,
You've got
my 20-year plan. Yeah, exactly. You know.
Coach 2.0.
But no, seriously though. See, it's going to be really ugly in this guy's life, you know, because he's going to have nothing to go for it. Now, this guy is very cunning. Okay, never forget that, because he's not.
No, you're
very
giving him
smart.
too much credit. I think we've all seen how transparent
No,
he is
no,
at the point.
no, he's cunning.
Cunning to him is tweeting Donald Trump or getting some person to tweet Donald Trump and announcing it on a live stream.
Yeah, I know. No, I think that he was high on coke. I personally think that he was a cocaine that made him talk there. You know, I think that was what was really going on in that little little embarrassment. Yeah, but no, he's a kind
But
of
how
guy.
many things can we attribute to him being a cokehead at this point? All of it? Is he a complete addict? There's
No.
not, as Kevin said, there's not many fat cokeheads, is there?
No. Actually, there are, and
Are there?
yeah, sure. You know, coke doesn't affect your appetite. You're thinking heroin, but coke doesn't. You can eat like a horse and be coke to the gills. It's not either or. No, I think that coke has. You know, Robert Caro says that power reveals. Well, coke does the same. It reveals the real you. Okay. Yeah, it brings out the inner whatever you are. Okay. It's a great thing. I mean, look, I have to admit that sometimes I feel sorry for the son of a bitch, because I see the life that he's going to be living. Look, I'm 50 years old.
I tell you who I feel sorry for, and I felt sorry for them during this entire affair while he's been making
family.
a fool of himself with his shenanigans.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for his family.
Yeah.
You know, when all of that angel baby stuff came out, I was just sorry for her.
Yeah. Me too.
I wasn't sorry for him really, because I knew he'd
fuck
capitalize on it. I knew he
Fuck
wouldn't.
him.
I knew he wouldn't shun the spotlight. I knew he wouldn't just take a break. I knew he'd make a point and meal of it. I felt really sorry for her. I really do. As on a human basis, I feel sorry for her.
Yeah. Total agreement. I do not have any sympathy for the man, but for his woman, absolutely. That must have been. Oh man, and the rows there. And well, look, I have no inside information, but I'm betting that the marriage situation there is very, very bad. Yeah, and that's all I'm going to say about it publicly. But it's obvious he spends so much time online; it's a dead giveaway. Okay.
Yeah, this is it. This is exactly it.
Yeah.
Just a final thing about Sargon then, before we move on to Kraut, which I really want to talk about, Coach.
Okay, sure.
Just a final thing about Sargon. At what point do you think it's sort of the end game for him? I'd have thought, you know, him labeling Jim as a pedophile, or even him, the whole depends on the child situation he was caught up in. I'd have thought that would have brought him down. But when I say end game, I mean, when's the Patreon rug going to come up from under him? When's he not going to have enough money to spend on coke? You know, when's he not going to have enough money to essentially live his dinosaur arc lifestyle?
Well, look, here's the thing you got to understand. See, whenever you talk about, that America only has 10 more years, 10 more years, I tell you, and then America is gone, the dustbin of history, right? And then, 10 years rolls around, it's still around, and then another 20 years rolls around, it's still around, right? See, a big ship like that takes a long time to sink. They say that the Titanic took like 2-3 hours to sink. That's a long goddamn time for a boat to sink now, isn't it? Same with empires. The Roman Empire, it took like 500 years to sink, right? Sargon and Mackay is going to take, I guess, another 18 months. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's going to be even less than them.
18 months. 18 months.
He's not the Roman Empire. He's a neckbeard.
Yeah,
and
but he produces content. But actually, like, let's look at his stats, because I'm looking at his
he's got
stats.
a dead subscriber base that doesn't really pay attention to him.
Oh wow, his average views are 80 in last month were 88,000.
Yeah, and he's got like 888,000 subscribers, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, my channel is roughly a sixth of his, and I get half of his viewership. So
this is it. The algorithm loves you, and the algorithm. See, this is the thing. This is what I wanted to talk about algorithms.
Sure.
People like Boogie, people like The Amazing Atheist, people like Sargon. They had gimmicks. They had gimmicks which took them to their success, which courted the algorithm.
Sure.
Amazing Atheist was, let's rail on on Christians, right? Well, I'm a big-brained nibber atheist. Boogie 2988. No one was there to listen to him talk about his mental health issues or his wife.
Oh.
They were there to watch him smear Mountain Dew on his tits.
I don't know. I never quite understood the attraction of Boogie 2988 or
it's Mountain Dew on his tits. That's exactly what Boogie's.
I'll take your word for it.
And Sargon's gimmick, the whole reason why everyone watched Sargon in the first place was because he was railing on people like Trigglypuff, people like Big Red.
Yeah.
Not much to see him start a political movement.
Yeah.
With a frog.
Yeah.
What on earth? So this is why the algorithm's falling out with these people. But they think they can diversify their content and be different, but it doesn't happen. That's why. Coach, you've made a very clever decision by diversifying your content, by putting your shitstream stuff underground and keeping yourself relevant to the algorithm by putting all of your incel empowerment stuff on this channel, which has brought you great success. When the algorithm changed,
I don't know about that. See, the incel thing, I understand it, and I find it deeply troubling. Okay.
I think we all do. Yeah.
Because you call them neets, I call them incels. It's basically the same kind of thing. It's like lost young men, and I realize it's because they're raised by women. It's basically it. And I'm not shitting on women. Okay, that's not the issue. People think that it's like, oh, you're shitting on women. No, I'm not. Okay. What I am saying is that guys raised by women are not going to know how to be guys, because women don't know how to be men, right? And you got to teach it. It's something that's taught. It's not like you're just because you have XY chromosomes, you're going to know all the shit instantly. No, you gotta teach it, and you gotta practice it, and that's the thing, And so I'm how can I put this? Look, to finish off this Sargon topic, I'm looking at his numbers, man. They're really fucking bad. The last month was. Is
it any surprise? He goes on streams like Christie's and Kev's, thinking it's going to be an easy win, and completely loses any sort of credibility. He can't build himself back up again. He's lost it. He's lost whatever he had. The only people left on Sargon's subscriber base, and I've met them IRL. They're like passengers on the Titanic who know that the iceberg's about to hit, but they're drinking wine and sipping champagne anyway. They're completely deluded. They live in a fantasy world where they think he's going to lead them to victory, lead them to success. And I can only assume that it's because they've given them so much money to his Patreon,
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of coin in his Patreon. Let's see Sargon's Patreon right now.
Is it bigger than yours?
I'm sure. He's got like, let me see. He's got 3,200 patrons. Wow, that's a lot.
But this is it. Tomorrow? I mean, how much money is that being made?
12 grand. $12,000.
12 grand. 12 grand a month, right?
Yeah, that's good money.
Tomorrow, that could completely be taken up from under his rug, from under his feet. The rug could be pulled out. And that's it. What backup does he have? What's he going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. Poor bastard.
What I'd be doing, and I'm sure you'd be doing this as well as a sound economist, you'd be investing that money.
I'm not an economist.
I'm
not an economist.
You're familiar with
Yeah,
the
with
financial.
finance. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an economist, but I know what to do with my money. You know,
yeah.
it's
When
not
you
silly. I wouldn't be spending it and blowing it on coke and flying around the world trying to laugh as a political activist.
no, no, not at all. I would look.
Property and land.
Look, the money he's getting, between his, his Patreon and whatever. I once shot the shit with Benway about this issue. We figured that he was raking in, probably about between 20 and 30,000 a month, and have that roughly in the UK because of taxes. So
Which he doesn't pay,
what?
probably,
Well,
allegedly.
allegedly. Okay. Now, if it turns out that he didn't pay his taxes, ooh, he's fucked. But that's for another
I think
story.
he's paying his taxes, but I'm not sure if he's paying enough.
Who knows? Who knows? That's who knows. But yeah, look, he's walking away with what 10, 15 grand a month, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But a lot of money oftentimes goes real quick, you know, with a family and shit like that. Yeah, and the UK is not cheap to live in, so yeah, it can go awfully quickly, you know. So look, I don't know about the guy's finances. I have no insight. Just what's publicly available information. I think that my sense is that the guy was, he got lucky, he got successful, he uh, didn't handle it, he allowed it to go to his head, like first success always does, and when the fall happens, which it will, because it's inevitable, I don't think that he's going to have the tools to recover and rebuild, you know, because ultimately what makes a man. That's what makes it interesting. See, a man who falls, I mean, a man who's successful is boring, okay? Because he's successful, whoop-de fucking do. A man who fails, well, that's an interesting car wreck. But a man who fails and then recovers, now that's a story. That's a story worth repeating, okay? That's interesting. And there's a lot to be learned from such a man, okay? And if you're lucky enough to be such a man, then you know, my hat's off to you, because it's hard. It's hard to recover from failure, especially profound failure.